This is Jerod Lakefield, a novel by Don Fensler, Part 37, Phase 2, Part 8. Jerod Lakefield. Who is this Lakeman? The San Diego Clapper players and coaches, and of course the fans, were just ecstatic right now. Who was this Lakeman? It was just too much for the worst franchise in sports history to handle all at once like this. I looked over at Jerod Lakefield at the end of the Bearcats game. He was looking up at the scoreboard, strangely alone, though we should have all been mobbing him. He looked very sad, so very sad. Pure Jerod Lakefield, in other words. Jennifer and I drove home together. We knew more than ever we were part of something big, and we still weren't sure what. How does he do it, I asked. Why does he do it? What do you mean, asked Jennifer, though I think she knew what I meant. He makes us think it's all over, like the magic is finished, I said, that he has reached beyond what he can do, but then he shows us there is nothing beyond what he can do. Yes, said Jennifer quietly. This is the NBA, I said. Who is this man? Why is he so good, so strong, and yet so sad, said Jennifer. Yes, I said, he always looks so sad. Even when he is smiling, he looks so astonishingly sad. Jennifer smiled at the way I self-edited myself, but then the smile disappeared quickly. We rode home the rest of the way in silence, but not an awkward silence. We were both speechless, but both knowing we knew something that no one else knew, but not fucking knowing what it was that we knew. The next few games, if anything, Jerod Lakefield was even better than he was against the Memphis Bearcats. Against the Portland Explorers and their raucous fans, he scored 31 points and had 12 assists and 7 steals. He was 11 for 14 from the field, and we won 98-74. He shut up the raucous fans like a kindergarten teacher named Mrs. Godzilla would shut down a bunch of 5-year-olds. The Portland fans became absolutely morose and surly, and went home snapping at their wives, kicking their dogs, and reaching for the nearest painkillers and laxatives. Another rout against another fine team. Against the Sacramento Royals, the Royals decided to let him shoot from long range with fucking devastating results. He hit 4 for 5 from the field just outside the half-court line. And the one that fucking missed was the most fun of all, as it nicked the inside of the back rim, hit the front part of the rim, then backboard, then hit the front of the rim again, and finally spilled out onto the floor. I think it was that miss that people watching remember most of all. On defense, he harassed the Sacramento guards, doing the swoop time and time again, and the hapless Royals falling for it time and time again. Jerod Lakefield feigned his head to the left. The guard took the fake going to Jerod's right, then Jerod would fucking swoop back right and steal the ball like he was fucking pulling the rug out from under you. It was a fucking delight to behold Jerod's defense. Other times he would be covering one man and then switch without a fucking hint of warning, as quick as a panther to another man. You could literally see the fucking urine ooze from the players' basketball breeches, and Jerod would knock the ball loose, often fucking into the new man's leg, and it would roll out of bounds. Jerod Lakefield was the master of disaster, the king of chaos, and the fucking heartbreak of psoriasis all rolled up into one. Jerod Lakefield created chaos on the court, a chaos that was chaos to everyone but him. I had seen thousands of basketball games in my relatively short life, but what Jerod did to a game was unprecedented. A game with Jerod Lakefield, and it was either boringly routine or a breathtakingly beautiful mess. There was no in between. As I said for the umpteenth time previously, when Jerod felt he was not needed, he hung around the fringe of play and did absolutely fucking nothing. He was actually a liability at times, as his teammates were looking to the great Jerod Lakefield for help, but he was not there to help, and so the teammates played poorly and in distress, whirling around like a bunch of fucking dorky ostriches, trying to find a fucking hole to stick their head into. But Jerod would never let things deteriorate to the point where we lost or even came close to losing. Any hint of initiative and skill and competitive fire from the opponent, and Jerod would turn ruthless in his kind and totally without malice way of being ruthless. When it was a close game or when his teammates made things too fucking unbearable, Jerod would totally take over the game and turn the game into the chaos that only Jerod Lakefield understood. The frenzy. He was all over the court and inside everyone's heads, for better or worse. If you were on his team, you felt like you were riding a Harley Davidson issued by Jesus Christ himself. If you were his opponent, you thought you had died and been tossed into a fucking pit of unquenchable fire. The ball would be flying about the court with no obvious logic or plan. Then suddenly it would be in Jerod Lakefield's hand, 25 feet from the basket, and he would get this look in his eyes, not taunting, but saying with profound compassion, "How could you leave me alone out here, you fucking idiots? Do you think there is any way on earth, God's green earth I'm going to miss this shot?" And he would, of course, sink the shot. Jerod alone from 25 feet was a sure thing, like the sun coming up from the fucking east, west, or south, or wherever the fuck it comes up in the morning. That little jump, a flick of the wrist, a graceful follow-through, and Jerod knowing at that moment whether the shot was going in or out. If it was going to go in, he would immediately shuffle back on defense, or sometimes jet forward, planning to steal the throw-in pass. It was the greatest show on earth, the Jerod Lakefield show, and possibly even the greatest story ever told. Even after just 5 games, the world had gotten around somewhat about Jerod Lakefield. A minor buzz in the air about a player for the lowly Clappers who was fun to watch, but not fun for the 5 opposing coaches we had met so far. It was not fun for them at all. It was a look in the opponent's coach's eyes and the expression on their faces, just like I had seen so many times in the St. Cloud day, that was most obvious and both painful and comical to see. How in the fucking Jesus Christ and Prophet Muhammad Ali did he get alone again? Why in the bloody hellfire and brimstone does he have the ball with no one on him? The coaches would scream to themselves, I imagine. The coaches would be so livid, but also bizarrely resigned to the fact that they were seeing something new and precious. Basketballs as it had never been played before. They had a vague sense that something historical was starting, but they had no idea what, so they took out their frustrations on their players, their wives, their mortgage adjuster, and even their pet chinchillas. So the lowly San Diego Clappers were now 5-0, had not even had a close game. Jerod was averaging about 28 points a game and shooting 68% from the field. He was 35 for 35, a fucking 100% from the fucking free throw line. The word was getting around about Jerod Lakefield, but it was going to take a big game, a game against one of the big league's legendary teams, with another superstar on the team to make Jerod truly known. And that game was coming up next.